Hi, greetings, everyone. Greetings and welcome to Stopping the Violence and Crime in America. As you can see, I'm not your usual host, your founder, Vice President Reverend Zachary Oliver, but I am in his stead. I'm Dr. Madeline Clark Alexander, and again, I welcome you. Today, we have an amazing guest. We look forward to hearing from her, and I pray that you're prepared to ask her questions, give your comment. Let's have a dialogue. Let's be engaged. Stopping the Violence was founded, and the clarion call was made by Dr. Hatya Khan Moon of the Family Peace Federation. And as you have known and as you have heard her cry in her heart to stop the violence, not only in America, but all over the world. So it has been our assignment to meet every week, to collaborate, to come up with new and fresh ideas, to hear what they're doing in other communities, that we can come together collectively and offer some assistance. You know, sometimes we think that we're so far away because we've had so many guest speakers. We've had doctors, we've had lawyers, we had police agencies. We have people from mental health. We just had so many disciplines on here, just sharing their hearts and what they're doing in their community. So as we continue that process, we can come together with a collaborative effort of support and help. And sometimes we think, well, I'm in Missouri and they're in Arizona. How do I help them? The least we could do is pray and offer our support. But we want to do more than pray. We actually want to have some practical principles that we can uh, lead by, and that we can lead with those that come on weekly, or someone that comes on for the first time. Today, we have the honor of meeting Miss Gloria Howard. Thank you so much. We welcome you. We appreciate you being here. You know, we all have a test, and we all have a test, and that becomes our testimony. I like to say there's a message in the mess, you know, but when we're going through it, it doesn't feel like it. It makes no sense whatsoever, but we
Mhm.
just thank and praise God when he brings us through, and then we can really see the light, a light brighter. So I thank you. We welcome you. We receive you. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to read your bio, and from there you can step right in. You can and just share with us how you made it through. And I'm sure there'll be some questions, afterwards, that we can have a dialogue. Miss Gloria Howard, M.Ed, CLCP, is a native of St. Louis, Missouri, has spent the previous 8 years in Memphis, Tennessee, in the Memphis, Tennessee area. Prior to settling in the Twin Cities for 12 years. Gloria's upbringing and love for her community and families on the East St. Louis, Illinois, Missouri, and Memphis, Tennessee, all all of which are like that of North Minneapolis. Okay. Therefore, it was a natural fit to begin in North Minneapolis, advocating for peace and change of heart and mind while building valuable relationships within the community. Her educational journey, she has a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration Management from Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri, and graduating magna cum laude. Congratulations. Oh, this is wonderful. With a Master of Education from Strayer University, Memphis, Tennessee. Currently, currently on hiatus for her doctoral degree. She has worked in the community engagement and youth and family advocacy for more than 25 years. That's a lifetime. That's a lifetime. Gloria, the growth coach, is the founder of the Root Pathway LLC, which is a movement of healing and growth using coaching techniques and authentic traditional African products, which assist in bridging connections of unity and community through relationships and strengthening parenting skills, which is so much needed, of Black and Brown families. Her professional involvement is the Rotary Club of North Minneapolis president from 2017 to 2019 and president of the first online Rotary Club of District 5950, the Passport Rotary Club of Minnesota from 2020 to 2021. Gloria has been appointed to the governor's board for for emerging entrepreneurs through from 2021 to 2025, as well as a 2022 honoree for the African American Heritage calendar, the Advocate. Gloria is not just a local advocate, but a global leader and advocate for peace. She has served as volunteer executive director of Ebenezer Charity Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to providing education, community service, and clean water to African communities by helping lead a team to provide the first solar water tower in West Africa. Gloria has worked as an advocate via her own streaming community news show, highlighting individuals who are contributing to the community and giving a voice to the voiceless by bringing hope, resources, and positive information that the community can use. And that's what we need, something that's applicable. So I commend you for that in advance. A life changing event occurred when she became a volunteer participant of the 21 Days of Peace initiative, which is a collaboration between the religious community organizations and the city of Minneapolis to reduce the violence within our communities. On June 16th, 2021, while on Volunteer Day, Gloria herself fell victim to a random act of violence and was shot in front of Sanctuary Church on Broadway in North Minneapolis. It was a non-life threatening injury which did not deter her from her mission of peace and community leadership support. On the third day following the shooting, she was able to attend the final and 21st day celebration on an upcoming Juneteenth. Wow, at the same location. You talking about confronting your fears and standing in your faith. Girl, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. The only thought was this week must continue. There is a passion to be, there is a mission to be completed. Listen, I can't wait. I'm going to finish this paragraph and I want you to dive right in because this resume says it all. Honors and ministry affiliations, Shiloh Temple International Ministries and the American Clergy Leadership Conference, Minneapolis, training, honors, and awards. Minneapolis Local Hero nominee, Minneapolis Department of Health 2016, DeVoe Urban Leadership, Emotionally Healthy Leadership Training in 2017, Star Training Trauma and Reliance in 2017, Rotary Club District 5950, Emerging Leaders in 2018, True Family Values Award in 2019, Ambassador for Peace Universal Peace Foundation and the Rotary Club of North Minneapolis in 2020, Twin Cities Recovery Project, a certificate of honor in 2021, Minnesota African American Heritage Calendar honoree in 2022, and Hometown Hero Award and Minnesota Department of Civil Rights in 2023. Gloria is a commission notary for the state of Minnesota and Real Essentials Relationship certified facilitator and educator. Oh my goodness, it is an honor to have
Thank
you
you.
with us. Your accomplishment speaks volumes, but we want to hear it from you.
Okay.
Please.
Um, Thank you for having me here. I just recently relocated back to the St. Louis, Illinois area about a year and a half ago, and wasn't sure what the mission is really about because I've accomplished so much in Minneapolis. And coming here, not knowing um, this area, because I've been gone for over 20 years,
Mm,
and trying to figure out, where do I fit in? What do I do? Of course, I'm back into education. So I'm in a middle school. I'm in an area that's much like North Minneapolis. It is actually the middle school that I graduated from when I was young.
wow.
So it speaks to my heart a little bit. But going back to Minneapolis, um, I like to just first thank VJ Smith, Reverend VJ Smith, because when I met him, I had only been in Minneapolis about 3 years or so. And he saw something in me because he saw through to my heart. He knew that I had a heart for service. I had a heart for community. I always have my entire adult life. I married very young. So we were military, and being military, I lived overseas for about 5.5 years. And while I was there, the one thing I always wanted to do, I wanted to finish college, and I didn't do that. So I decided, well, throw myself into something that I love, and I decided to help in the community, working with the youth. So it's been in my system, in my blood. It's who I am, and who I'll always be. So that's how I really began some of that. And I think you have to have it in your heart. It has to be who you are in order for you to continue doing it. One of the things I've noticed is when I'm not in the community working and when I'm not doing some of these things, I find myself wondering about my purpose. And when I am doing it, it's just, I can do it with my eyes closed, because it's who I am. And being in North Minneapolis and meeting some of the people and working with them, I started at one of the nonprofits there, Urban Ventures, as a coordinator. And working there, I worked with homeless. I worked with fathers and mothers coming out of prison, trying to get back into their children's lives. I worked with mothers who were single moms, needing help in parenting skills, life skills, just everything for them to get back to understanding, what their role is and who they are, and helping them to find their purpose. And in doing all of that, I noticed that a lot of the community gravitated towards me. And with that, I took advantage of it. I found that to be the space that I could literally connect. I could speak with them, I could talk with them. And Urban Ventures was a place where we had a government grant, but the grant would not allow us to speak about religion to
Mm,
our customers, our clients. So I would do it through action. Everybody knew who I was, they knew my faith, what I believed in. So when I would speak to them, I spoke with them with such conviction that they had no questions about what I was saying. And I would have some clients would even come up to me and they would say, well, Miss Howard, can you just pray for me real quick? So we would just go to the side and I would do my prayers with them. I would speak with them. I would be the voice. I would be the ear that they needed at that particular time without judgment. Um, and I also say that sometimes we have to lean into our gifts. And one of the gifts that I am very aware of is that when people speak to me, I can hear them on a different level. I can hear them spiritually. So when I'm speaking with them, I'm able to speak back and give them something that they need and they can use at that particular time. And I took that when I left Urban Ventures and went to a different nonprofit where I worked mainly with women. Um, I've been into the prisons to work with women who needed assistance as a volunteer. I've done a lot of volunteering. So, a lot of work I've done, I didn't get paid for it financially. I got paid emotionally. I got paid just by being able to help and serve. And that's how I ended up with Rotary service. Service is in my blood, it's in my system. I love doing what I do. I love being able to help and be a voice. And when I decided to join 21 Days of Peace, my bishop, Bishop Howell, asked me to come in and if I wanted to do this. And of course, me being who I am, of course, yes, I'm ready. So we were out there. We had been working in the community for a while. I built relationships with a lot of the people through some of the other work, the previous work I had done. So you have to become a trusted voice. The community has to trust you because we have to remember that we don't know what got those people into the positions that they were in, but that's not our business either to judge how they got there and why they were there. Our job as an advocate, as a voice, is to lean into them, to listen, support, and be able to help with solutions. And by that I mean we don't give them solutions. We don't tell them what to do. We listen and then we give them the options. We show them opportunities where they can come out on the other side. And that's how I look at it. And doing that, when they trust you, um, there's so many things you can do. I will acknowledge there was a young lady at one point out there in the beginning. I saw her walking up and down the street. This area that I was in, there's a liquor store there, there's a gas station. They used to call that murder station. That corner was one of the most deadliest corners in North Minneapolis. We had gang members, we had various gangs fighting where they would be shooting at one another. There were robberies, there was prostitution, there was drug dealings. Anything that you could think of happened right there. So that was one of our areas in North Minneapolis, and that's where I was because that was the community that I usually helped. That's where I went to church. That's where I served. That's where Rotary Club was located within that area. So I decided, okay, I'm going to be here. And I want to back up for just a moment because in 2016, I was involved in a car accident right there. Someone hit me um, and totaled my vehicle. I was injured. It was very traumatic. And then in 2021, that's the same area that I was shot in. Okay. So I just had to put that in there because for me, that was kind of profound. And while I was out there with the young lady, however, um, there were two gentlemen out there talking to her from our group. And I looked over and I'm like, okay, she's female. Maybe I should walk over here and help her a little bit. So I walked over, I gave her my card, and I looked at her and I said, um, I said, how are you? And she spoke to me. And I asked the gentleman if they mind if I could speak with her alone. And they didn't mind. And I asked her, I said, can I give you a hug? And she looked at me and she shook her head. And I gave her a hug and she cried. And I spoke with her. She was on drugs. Her father had just passed. She didn't know what to do. She had children that she was not caring for. So I listened to her. I gave her my card. And a few days later, she called me. So that relationship began. And I would talk to her. And her father had recently passed. And she asked me, she says, Miss Gloria, could you come to the funeral? And I couldn't make it to the funeral, but I went to the family home after the funeral. When I walked up, The look on her face was priceless. She started crying. She was smiling. She introduced me to her family. And she says, I didn't think you would make it. And her mother looked at me and she says, I don't know how to thank you. She says, my daughter's been out there and I didn't know what was happening to her. She says, but after meeting you, I'm just going to ask you, could you please keep an eye out for her? And I told her, of course I would. Now, fast forward, she got pregnant again, but she called me. And to this day, as far as I know of, she is clean and sober. She went to church with me a few times and she joined her own church. So to this day, as far as I know, she was clean and sober. So that was just one way that being non-judgmental, being in that space, being able to be open, being able to listen, and then not just listen, but to act on it. Many people probably would not have shown up at her family home in North Minneapolis. Was I kind of afraid? And I'm going to be honest with you, when I pulled up, I had some reservations when I looked outside. It was summertime. It was a little, but I said, well, Lord, you got me. You
Mhm.
brought me here for a reason and I'm going for it. And I did. And this was about, I would say about a week or two before I was shot. And the particular day that the shooting happened, we had some activity on that by the liquor store. And there was a young lady that was shot in the head and killed about 2 hours after some of us had just left. And it was an argument, drugs were involved. And after that, we were on alert that there may be more activity. So about a week or two later is when I was out there. I was helping one of the gentlemen. He used to sell snow cones and snowballs, and sometimes he'd give them away. And he had left, and he says, "Could you stand here and watch my table for me?" So I said, "Sure, no problem." And the church members had not made it out yet. So I was one of the only ones out there. And I had been talking to the community, and a lot of them would call me auntie. They would come over and share things with me, and they allowed me to come out and pray with them. I went out every morning, as a matter of fact. It was summertime, so I wasn't working. So I was out every morning at 7:30, and I would pray that parking lot. I prayed around by that gas station before I began the day, and some others would be out there with me doing the same. So this particular day, there was two young ladies with their babies in strollers, and they were maybe in their early 20s. They had just walked away when the shooting began.
Mm.
And as I was facing the intersection where I had my car accident, I heard the gunshots. And for me, it was kind of weird because I'm like, okay, wow, I've been in communities before, but I had never heard shots like that before. And and they were really loud and they were continuous. So it wasn't like a gun just saying pow pow. It was like a boom, and then it continued like boom boom, and it just went faster and they kept going. And I saw the entire parking lot start running in my direction. And I'm looking around like, okay, they told us you get down low or do something, And I'm thinking, I was 70 pounds heavier than I am today. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it to my car. What am I going to do? And just at that moment, I could hear the voice of God tell me, turn, clear as day. I literally turned my body, and the split second that I turned my body, the bullet went into my rear end.
Mm.
As it hit, I fell. And when I fell, I kept trying to get up, and I'm realizing I can't get up. I was shot. I didn't realize it at first. And I'm laying there. People are running past me. And there was a gentleman who had been speaking to me earlier. He was coming past me, and I was able to get his attention. And I said, I think I've been shot. And he looked down and he yelled to someone in the parking lot. And at this time, the crowd was still running. One of the young ladies who would come out, and God rest her soul, because a couple of months later she was murdered. So this particular young lady used to call me auntie every day. She came to speak to me, get a hug every day. And she carried a gun all the time. And she would tell me about this. And she looked down and she screamed across that parking lot. And she says, Auntie's been shot. It's Auntie, y'all. And everybody ran over. I don't know where they got a towel from. I don't know what was going on. But this young lady leaned down and grabbed my hands. And she says, Auntie, you're not going anywhere. We got you. We got you. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. And as she reached down, she grabbed that towel and pushed it onto my wound. And she says, it's going to hurt, but I'm a PCA and I know CPR. By this time, the church members were running out. The shooting, the gun violence had gone past. One of the gentlemen was standing and he literally said to me, I got you. And this is a young man who carries a gun, sells drugs, standing and guarding me as I'm laying on the ground. So when I say that a community of this sort that is counted out by society, that no one wants to help, that everyone looks down upon and says they're not going to be anything because of what they do, they still have a soul. They still have a heart. And this young man says, I got you. And he guarded me as I laid on the ground. By the time the ambulance came, they said, well, do you want your niece to come with you? And I'm thinking, niece? I don't have a niece. But it was the young lady. She had been so involved and so caring for me and my well-being, they literally thought she was related to me. By the time I got to the hospital, I'm in the emergency room. They take me upstairs and I go through they did MRIs, they did everything. And they looked at me and the doctor said to me, he says, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you believe in. And I don't know who your higher power is, but you got somebody on your side. That bullet exploded and it came out in my abdomen and two other places in my groin area, inches away from my femoral artery. There were no fragments left. Everything came out. And the doctor said, I can't believe it. Mind you, I'm 61 years old. So I was what, in about 58, something like that, 57, 58. So I wasn't this young spring chicken. I was severely overweight. So I had a lot of things against me, high blood pressure. And the doctor says, I can't believe it. He said, this is nothing short of almost a miracle. And he says, and I've never seen our emergency room look like this. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, do you know we have community members? Looks like there's pastors or somebody down there. He said, that emergency room is full and they're all there for you. He says, so whatever you do, he said, I just say bless you because I've never seen anything like it. And one of the nurses came to me and she says, I just want to meet you. She says, because from what I'm seeing, you must be somebody special. And I'm laughing and making jokes. And the my bishop came up. He had tears, kind of on his face, and he looked at me laughing and he said, wait a minute, why are you smiling? We're down here, we're really worried. And he says, and you're smiling. And I said, it went in and it came out. I said, God is good. And then I told him, I said, and he knew I was going to need these extra pounds someday. And he started laughing. So I was let go. I was sent home after I was checked out. Of course, I had a difficult time walking a little bit, and it hurt. I mean, I had to be careful, But 3 days later, I was out at Juneteenth because that was the whole purpose of 21 Days of Peace. That 21st day was to celebrate what we were doing and some of the strides that we had made. And when I got out there, everyone was like, oh, she made it out here. What is she doing here? I didn't stay very long, but I wanted to be there to show them that I'm not going to be deterred, and you shouldn't either. Because if we were given a mission and we were given a task to do, then we must complete that task. If he put us out there on the battlefield, he is not going to leave us on the battlefield. He is going to make sure that we make it off that battlefield with victory. And although there were a couple of incidents, it did slow down. We met people. Some people turned their lives around. So if it turned two people, it was a victory because that's two people less that wouldn't have been out there. So I looked at it that way. And I mean, I just continue to do what I do. Even here, I work with the youth here. The school I'm in, they've allowed me to have girl groups. So I have middle school girls who are in some precarious situations that I meet with every Tuesday and Thursday on lunch. I have about 30 girls. So I'm looking at now trying to start a nonprofit where I can be a voice in the community, be a resource, partner with people just to be able to help those who feel that they have no hope. Because I do believe that that's why God put me on this earth. That definitely is my purpose. And to be able to speak about it and speak about it with conviction, not be afraid to say who I am and what I believe in, and to stand up, for what God wants us to stand up for. Because I think in this time and this day, some of us have kind of shirked some of our duties, and maybe out of fear, maybe out of not being heard or thinking that we're not being heard. But we are. We are. And if we stand together, we can continue to make a difference. And that's pretty much what I believe and what I stand for.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you, thank you,
welcome.
thank you, thank you for sharing your life with us.
Mhm.
From the very beginning you said it's my heart. It's
Yes.
my heart. And as you progressed in sharing with us, your heart showed up every time. Your
Yeah.
heart showed up every time. We talk about the breakdown of the family and the
Mhm.
breakdown of support,
Oh,
and you
yes.
being in the community,
Yes.
showing love, showing family principles,
Mhm.
showing understanding, and making yourself available. My father used to say, your reputation precedes you, so
Mhm.
be mindful of how you act. The way you act at
Absolutely.
home, that's the way you need to act in public, because I'm going to hear
Absolutely.
about it. And your reputation went before you, to the degree they started calling you auntie. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
auntie is high ranking right
Hey,
there.
that in the community, that's when you're auntie, you've
Yes,
made it somewhere in their eyes.
that's
Yes.
right. That is huge.
Huge.
So again, I commend the work that you've done and the fortitude.
Mhm.
When you said you got shot and 3 days later you were back in the same place, because that was the purpose, those 21
Absolutely.
days. And I had to scratch my head and I said, well, I said she got a good point, because you didn't abort the mission that God had you on.
No.
You didn't abort the assignment God had you on. And God didn't allow the most crucial thing you could imagine to happen. What you say,
Mhm.
it went through. It didn't get lodged. It didn't hit any
No.
major
No.
arteries or anything. But that sacrifice that
Yes.
you was willing to make, your obedience, you
Yes.
know that's love. Obedience is love. When you can stand on the
Mhm.
principles of God and what your heart is telling you to do, and you
Yes.
can continue. Well, you and I could talk the rest of the hour, but I know it's people out there in the gallery that have questions, that have
Yeah.
comments. Is there anyone that have questions or comments or something that they would like to say? I don't want to eat the whole hour up. John Healy, you have a comment, a question? Unmute yourself.
Uh, yeah, I'm blown away. That's all I can say is the words that come to my mind after hearing that story.
Mhm.
And to someone who would personally, as you did personally, take up responsibility for the
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah. One thing I would like to share, um, after all of that happened, I was approached by the Minnesota Department of Justice, and then it went to the U.S. Department of Justice. But I was approached to see if I would be willing to sit in front of a grand jury, because they were trying to get these gang members off the street, and there had been several murders. And in my case, it took a year and a half to figure out who actually pulled the trigger.
Mm.
And I was warned. I had people warning me, you don't go before the grand jury. Don't do this. Don't do that. I've even had people that used to tell me, why are you going back out there? But I did. I sat in front of that grand jury. I prayed about it first. And then I said, well, if I do not, then what was it all for? So I sat and I answered their questions. I helped with that. And it took about a year and a half for them to figure who pulled the trigger. And about, I guess, within that year and a half, they got 45 gang members off the streets. And
Mm.
these were gang members who had been involved in various murders throughout the community over a period of years. So
Wow.
I still, to this day, I still get letters from the Justice Department telling me when different trials are coming up and who was picked up. So it was worth it. And no, I was not afraid, because why do we go out and why do we do those things if we're going to back up and be afraid not to follow through?
Mhm.
So I just wanted to share that piece.
Mhm. And
Thank you.
that right there is powerful. Thank you,
Thank you.
Hilly. That right there is powerful because you hear in the communities all the time, I'm not gonna say nothing. I know, but I'm not gonna say nothing. But you're allowed, then you become a part of the problem,
Yes.
because you're allowing it to continue. And sometimes until that thing is at your front door,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get involved. But if you can get involved, I like the airport. If you see something, say something. If you
Mm-hmm.
can get involved, that could curtail that whole mainstream of a continual pattern. So again, thank you and appreciate you for even being able to have the courage, because that took courage. We pray about things, but when we pray about things, we have to step up. We have to show up. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I'm sure that took courage. So again, we appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you. And 45, it sounds like a big number, and it's a very small number in the magnitude of the things that's happening,
Absolutely.
in that not only in that area, but all over the
Mm-hmm.
world. So
Absolutely.
um
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a difference.
It does. It makes a difference. Yes.
Yeah. Anyone else have a comment?
Yes, I would if I could.
Okay. Announce yourself and then
Okay,
we'll
I'm
just
Wayne Hankins, and I really enjoyed your testimony about the power of love. I always like hearing that.
Thank
And
you.
when you go onto the streets, you're going with the power of God and the truth of God, the Word of
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, as someone as you who are familiar with what's really going on in the streets in Minneapolis, um, what I'd like to hear from you. What do you think is the reason that's propelling this? That's allowing it to continue to grow and to have all this harm that it brings people? Is it lack of jobs? Is it poor education? Is it what is it, and how long has it been going on in Minneapolis?
Okay.
And yeah, yeah, I'd like to hear from
Okay.
you.
Sure. It's not just one thing. And it was going on long before I got there. And it is a breakdown of family units is one of them.
Yes.
It is lack of education. It is lack of, and people say lack of resources, but sometimes it's not just lack of resources. It is lack of access to resources. There's a difference between lack of resources and lack of access. and that is a huge piece. Um, it is. It's all of these things combined. Also, it is different communities of people because North Minneapolis and Minneapolis in general is a melting pot. North Minneapolis is comprised of, you may have Chicago, you may have Cleveland, you may have Detroit, St. Louis, Memphis. You have all of these urban areas where people have gravitated to Minneapolis because it was a city and state that had so many social programs that helped, and people felt like, oh, we're going to go here, and they would bring family members and then others, and now you have all of these different dynamics, whereas you may have had a gang member and his crew from Chicago end up in North Minneapolis, but now there's a rival from St. Louis and they're there, and they see that they can do certain things there, and they begin to think they can take over. So it's all of that combined. And I think it overwhelmed the Minneapolis Police Department because I think they were not ready, nor were they prepared for what they were getting. So it's just a combination of everything. And one of the things that I can say is, as working with some of the women there, I had women that, oh my gosh, 29 years old, 27 years old, 5 children, maybe 4 fathers involved or 5, um, no education beyond high school, if graduated from high school. They really don't know what to do. They're leaning on the social programs, and then you have the guy been in and out of prison. He can't get a job in some places because of the background, can't get a place to stay. So he's staying with a girlfriend and her children. I mean, it's just a whole lot of things. And one of the things that I used to like to do when I was with them, with these young women, is as a certified life coach, I would talk to them about parenting skills. And if they were pregnant, I want to know, where is the father right now? And I was able to coach a couple of those couples, both the female and the male. And when I coached them, I was able to make a difference because the man can see and then she begins to see. But I also provided resources. I gave them ways to access those resources. I didn't just give them a phone number, I didn't just give them a business. I would literally sit there and make phone calls to make connections so that when they went somewhere, they were not just a number. They were not just another face. They went with a name. That name knew they were coming, and it makes all the difference. Yes, you have to go a few steps beyond, but that's what it takes to go a few steps beyond.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Anyone else have any concerns?
I'll ask a question or two there, Dr. Alexander.
Okay.
Hi, John O'Connor. I'm in Virginia. I was in Kansas since about 7 months ago. I'd like to know, and by the way, I think you're just a wonderful person and you have so much going for you. Please stay safe and keep going with education and whatever. That's important, really important. Uh,
Yes.
you said you became the trusted voice. I think that's the point. You were consistent in your work and you love what you're doing, and so people could tell that. I'm curious though how you made that movement. You were in Minnesota and you came
Mhm.
back to I guess East St. Louis, is it, or
Yeah, I'm actually in Belleville, which is just up the hill, a little bit up the road from East St. Louis. Yes.
yeah, a tough place. I'm sure
Hmm.
that I know. But how was it you moved back there? And what kind of any kind of spiritual sign, or how did you flip a coin to do that, or what went on?
No, my mom is here and my family is here, and my mom is really ill right now.
Okay.
I'm the oldest, and I have been in and out of areas since I was 18 years old. And my mom, I'm the oldest, so I've always been my mom's best friend. She was a teenage mom, so I grew up with her. And when she started having health issues, it was a little difficult at first. And I had been gone so long and traveling. Like I said, I lived in Germany for 5.5 years. I've done work in Africa. I mean, I've traveled a lot and I've been gone a lot. And throughout that period, she lived with me at one point. And when I went to Minneapolis, that was hard on her because we were so far apart. And when she got ill, my youngest sister, she does everything she can. But I know that it's difficult on the two sisters that I have because my brothers are not in positions to be able to really do. And all three of the girls have really gone beyond. So I decided I need to come back and help them as the oldest. I needed to be there.
That's great. Well, you understand about the centrality of family and relationships there.
Yeah.
My mom also, we took care of her about the last 6 years until she turned 100 years old. She finally said goodbye at a little over 100 years old. But
Yeah.
it was a blessed experience to be with my mom and my dad the last few years of their life.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I have that feeling with you. By the way, we're going to have July. We'll have a conference, for stopping violence, and I'm sure VJ is going to make sure you get there.
Okay.
He's
Where is
sent
it
us.
going to be?
Well, it's going to be in I think Washington D.C. I think, isn't it, Madeline?
Yes, that's correct. Washington,
Okay.
Washington, D.C.
Around
Okay.
the 20 something. Anyway,
I will be
you'll,
there.
yeah,
Like the
you'll find me
second
there.
weekend of July, but we'll make sure you get a save the date letter.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Thank
Thank,
you so much.
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. I want to see if Adeline, do you have?
Oh, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee,
Oh,
and I just I know John O'Connor and Evelyn. They've
mhm.
been to my house several times, but I'm looking because now I'm 67. I'm age of retirement already. I used to work part of my life, and like I feel like a fish out of the water because I was always busy making nice bouquets of flowers, and then I had to close my business last November,
Mm,
and I said, "Whoa, I have to find it to see what God wants me to do now because I have a lot of free time. My children already big, working,
mhm,
and
mhm.
so I was really inspired by you. Don't be, once you overcome your fears,
Yes.
because you know what I mean. I was always living a big family. Now I have a small family, and everybody is very reserved. And but I did a lot of volunteer work. I was missionary in Eastern Europe for 14 years. Then I came here, I worked 14 years in the business. So I'm looking for something and somebody because I like a friend to get involved. I'm trying to convince my friend what we can do together.
Okay.
Yes. So your testimony was vital. And I said, why am I worrying so much about staying home so much time? Let me go around and look for an hospital to volunteer or a church nearby.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
volunteer as food food drive. Uh, I live near Oak Grove Missionary Baptist, which is a big church.
Yes, I know
And
exactly what that is.
yeah, I live near there. And every month, starting in March, we feed 500 people here in Memphis. And I feel like I met a lot of people through this food project, but once a
Mhm.
month is not enough to be busy. There's a lot of more things, and I'm trying to pray to God and see what my calling coming from. So thank you for your nice sharing.
You're welcome. I actually put some information um, in the chat for you
Okay,
because
thank you.
I'm in Memphis quite often, and you had a pastor there, Pastor Darlene McCarty, and she had a church. They're in Nashville now, but I went through her women's mentoring
Uh-huh.
leadership institute, and
Mhm.
and I'm there quite. I go to Memphis quite often. There's a couple of
Yes.
pastors from ACLC
I
there.
can put my phone number on the chat,
Hmm.
and then you can come and visit me if you are around. Or if you
Absolutely.
need some help doing something, I'll be glad to help.
Memphis was on my bucket list. I was actually coming there to try to do some work with a couple of the pastors from ACLC there. So
Oh, that's
maybe
good. That's
maybe
good.
we could get together and get
We
with them
can
and
meet
they could help
Pastor
you.
Johnson, Pastor Darren McDonald.
Yes.
I know several pastors
Yes.
in the area. I can introduce them to you.
Absolutely.
Let me just put my phone number and my email on the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's what it's all about, collaboration and getting the work done.
Yes.
Yes.
She said she just retired or coming into retirement stage. I retired in 2019, and
Mm.
um I'm loving it. I love the freedom of it. I do
Yes.
pretty much what I want when I want. It's not a
No.
timeline where I gotta be here, gotta be there, but God will grace you and He will open the doors that need to be open for you to go in and do the work in which He has called you to do. Um, Gloria, we're coming up on maybe like 2 or 3 more minutes. I want you to have the last word. Well, let me ask, is there anyone else in the gallery? Thank you so much, Idalyn, for sharing your information. Is there anyone
Yeah, you're welcome.
is there anyone else in the gallery that would like to ask a question, make a comment?
I
Go
just
in.
want to say sorry I'm late.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here, gracing us with your parents, your presence. We have on this hour, Gloria Howard. Were you able to hear any of her testimony?
Only thing is she gonna be in Memphis. That was about it.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to catch her on the you're gonna have to catch her on the website. So that's what we're here for, to collaborate, to see what's worked, to be able to talk about and communicate the best practices, what's applicable. And you have given us a wealth of information. Again, your story, I'll be meditating on it for the rest of this week. um I'll get your number. I think I had Reverend Faulkner to actually call you and email you.
Yes, he did. Hmm.
I will, if it's okay with you, I'll get your information from him, that
Absolutely.
we can continue to follow up.
Hmm.
We just gave you an invite to Washington D.C. the second weekend of July, but I would like for you to actually have the closing remarks, if you will, to bless us and close us out.
Yes. And
Where's
in
my
doing
phone?
so, I just want to share something with you, and I have to grab it real quick, okay?
Okay.
And it is actually something that I read on Saturday at the prayer brunch. And before I read it, I do want to thank you for having me on, for being able to share my story, and and just a reminder to everyone that as a little girl, I always dreamt of doing things like this. I always wanted to be on an international stage. I had pen pals when I was 19 and 20 that was from Togo, West Africa. And in 2019, the biggest blessing of my life was to be able to go to Togo, West Africa. So see full circle how things happen.
Yes.
So if you have a dream and it's in your heart, it's never too late to do
That's
any
right.
of those things. Never too late. Um, and one of the things I want to share here before we go is it's a prayer, and it's a God of love and unity. We come before you seeking your guidance and grace in a world often divided by conflict and misunderstanding. We yearn for the peace that only you can provide. We recognize the power of love to heal and unite. And we ask that you will fill our hearts with your boundless love, that it may overflow and touch all of those around us. Help us to see the inherent worth and dignity in every person. regardless of their background, beliefs, or differences. May we be quick to listen, slow to anger, and always ready to forgive. Inspire us to build bridges of understanding and reconciliation, fostering unity with our families, our communities, and our world. Grant us the wisdom to speak words of kindness and compassion, and the courage to stand for justice and peace. May our actions reflect your love, and may our lives be a testament to your unifying power. We pray for a world where peace reigns, where love abounds, and where all people are united in your grace. And that right there are words for each one of us to live by. If it's in your heart to do in your community, just get on up and do it. There's always someone out
Amen.
there that'll work with you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
You're
Oh my
welcome.
goodness. Look, I'm so glad this is recorded.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for blessing us with your testimony, for sharing your heart with us, because this is a heart matter.
Yes.
To get out in the community, to do the work, to be willing to collaborate, to
Mhm.
release and let go that we can receive in exchange. So
Yes.
I appreciate everyone that made comments, or those of you that are listening. Um, the young lady that put the chat in, she said hi. She was apologized for not being here. We missed you, and we know that you're always with us, whether you're on the line or not. So
Mhm.
continue to pray for Reverend Oliver's safety as he continues
Yes.
to move around and do what he's doing. We know that he is working for the Lord, and that he is putting things in place for every one of us to move forward.
Mhm.
So I thank you all again. We're going to have you back on, Gloria. We're going to
I
have
would love to anytime. Anytime it's about sharing from the heart, I am all for it.
Yes. Well,
Very
please understand you're part of the family now. And I'll let
Thank you.
DJ know that thank you so much for your contribution, because it was great. Him and
Thank
I was back
you.
and forth. And
Thank you.
I,
Thank you. And
and
I
I,
send love, peace, and grace to everyone.
yes, thank you so much. So peace and blessings, everyone. Continue to
Thank
take care
you.
of yourselves, take care of each other until
Same
we
to
meet
you.
again.
God
Thank you,
bless you and
EJ. God
protect
bless.
Bye.
all
good.
of
God
you.
bless you all.
Take
Bye.
care. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr.
Bye.
Bye,
Nala.
Bye. Thank
John.
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. God bless
Hi,
you.
Lena. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you.
Yes, good to see everyone. Yes. There's Barry. Yeah, where he goes
Okay.
last minute. Thanks so much. EJ, thank you so much for all of your technical assistance. We couldn't do it without you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Yes.